Hello, brave hearts and Hatters. Coach Mad Hatters. Am I gonna be stumbling today? I might be. It's one of them days. I got my mask on. Yeah, I'm gonna make that a big deal because I'm telling you for real. I want to show up with no makeup on, no jewelry, lint balls in my head, and just be real natural with it. That's what I want to do. That's what I really want to do. But for the respect and reciprocity of visual effects, one day I'm gonna give it to you raw so you can feel it. How I would do one day. Okay, so real quick, so this here is my little potions bottle, right? This is my genie in a bottle. My mom gave me this, I want to say like 5 years ago, and she passed away in 2017. And I have to say, quite honestly, since then, I've been a little weird, to say the least. Still been slowly but surely making my way back into the ambitious Capricorn that I know I came here to be. But yeah, it just continue to think about the poem "Life for Me Ain't Been No Crystal Stairs." I might put that in the keynote and see how I feel about it. So, welcome to part 3 of the Coach Mad Hatter's Coffee and Comfy Sofa Conversation series. I already have a feeling it's probably going to go like to part 4 and 5. I'm cool with it though. We're just going to break it down in 60-minute, you know, 60-minute increments. And we just going to make it do what it do. Yes. um, okay. Even though it's going on noon, so most of my coffee right is it's gone, and I'm limiting myself to 1 cup, cause yeah, sister had a thing for caffeine. And I mean I do tea, but not really. Like when it get down to the get down, I'm coffee. I want some coffee. So been trying to limit myself and be good about this whole transitioning into my newness. Um, with that said, I am wearing this today because I chimed in, not I chimed in, but a friend, a very, very dear friend, chimed in last night to let me know that he and I are still spiritually connected, and that no matter what it seems like, that I am not to forget the fond connection that we share. And it's very interesting because I was dead sleep. Okay, and when I say I'm talking about snoring and all that type of shit, I was sleep, and almost like popped right into consciousness to like receive the message. Like it tickled me. It tickled me to the point where it took a while for me to fall back off to sleep, because I was just like, oh, like Before I get off on a tangent on that, I'm going. The more you get to know me, you know that at times I'm gonna have to reel it in. So yeah, so all of this, yeah, it is dedicated to him. Try to be all cute and curd, all you know how it go. Yeah, so love and light to Optimus Prime, right? And I'm gonna say this before I get started, that all of the women out there, and I'm telling you, it does not have to be a romantic gesture all the time, but it would be nice to have, a few dudes in your life that you could really like gain some divine masculine infusions from. Seriously, like, and one of my more bigger complaints is like I don't talk to him enough. Not that one. I don't talk to him enough, and I get kind of cranky about it. Now my best friend, like he really do. He chimes in and he saves the day because he's able to keep the rhythm on the day to day. We've been friends since high school, so I will have to say that like he's the one that knows, because even some of the people we went to school with, like, why y'all ain't like together, like, why y'all ain't, and we tried when my son was 2 going on 3, and my oldest son is now 27, just to give you a timeline of how long we've been friends. Like, we still giggle about how he used to sit behind me in biology class and kick my chair, get on my fucking nerves and shit. So we tried, but I think we like understand each other so much that the friendship just works. It just works. I think sometimes, like, we get into these romances because we really don't know the person. It's like if you really knew me, like really truly knew me, you probably wouldn't like me all that much. I'm just, I'm full of energy that it just chimed in. Cause this morning I was dragging ass. I was slow with it. I was tussling with some emotional friction about my existence and where uh, I figure I should be in conjunction where society figure I should be, in conjunction where my kids figure I should be, or my parents think I should be, my siblings think I should be. Like, just trying to reconcile all of that with the true reality of where I'm actually at. So I think that's a beautiful segue for me to go in, and I'm going to open up the segment with and yeah, I did just gave all the tender truth, didn't I? It is what it is. We are talking about, this series is truly about standing in one's truth, being able to pull out that art, that courage to tell one's own story. Um, I'm not like the popular chick. Like, I'm very weird. I'm like amongst those weirdos. And so yeah, to pull the wonder out of your weirdoism, it takes courage. It takes a lot of courage. Real quick before I get into my note to self that brewed up this morning. I was on the phone with my cousin last night, and so she is coming into um, the sturdy courage to write her book. And it's one of the most phenomenal pieces of news that I've received in a long time, because she has one of those types of stories that is really going to move some folks. And because it does have quite a bit of traumatic tendency with many players involved, I see why it took her the amount of time that it did for her to get into the comfy zone of wanting to reconcile it and just get it in print as a draft, let alone having to tussle with the emotional balancing of publishing it and putting it into the public domain. I'm still looking over there. I'm sorry. It takes courage. Hence the birthing of CoachMaddHatter's Underland University and Radio. The Underland part truly is in honorarium of Harriet Tubman and the Underground Railroad, because just those stories alone, just those stories that connect the dots to how they went from slavery to freedom, even though we're talking about the physicality of their being. Mentally, yeah, for the most part, even to this day, we're still slaved. We still are enslaved mentally and emotionally. But their physicality, just that journey, ducking and dodging, like they could not move into freedom freely in the out open. Like it took a lot of courage to be able to pace oneself. I just sometimes imagine the mindset and how they had to pace their patience, knowing that freedom was within reach, but all of the hurdles that awaited them before they finally like stepped over into that territory that deemed them free. And so that's what the underlying part of it means. It means that invisible space that only you contend with when you are dealing with challenges, when you are wrestling with your fears, and when you know that there is a better you, but your reality hasn't caught up with it yet. And folks on the outer perimeter of your existence wants to judge the cake before it's baked. I commend her. I am so proud of her. I don't know what to do, because when her latest, and I'll say most greatest trauma unfolded several years ago, it made me angry with those that were on the sidelines that figured like they wanted to be very vocal about her story without encompassing all that she was intimately going through. And in our conversation yesterday, she spoke about how someone from the newspaper attended her court hearing and contacted somebody in our family to give statement, and they built an entire article which is still posted to this day in the virtual world, and all of the comments that trickled in as a result of folks reading this. And see, that's what I told her. That's why I don't do these raggedy ass comments. The comment section, sometimes it's unnecessary, because it's like, if I'm sharing with you, then sometimes you do truly have to serve as the listener. And if you want to speak on it, then you do have to chime in to say, tell me more. You know, one of the one of the greatest, I keep looking over there, one of the most greatest pieces of human behavioral developmental tools and techniques reside inside this here. And in the epilogue of this series, I'm going to break down some things within this book. But just quickly, let's see, we're going to hone in on number 5. And we are to truly be seeking better understanding. Yeah? Seek first to understand, then be understood. Right? So, I said to her, I said, it's amazing how folks, their intuition didn't stop them and say, I don't know much about this. I can't really comment on this because I'm not sure about all that's going on, especially seeing as that this isn't her telling the story. This is a reporter. and I do not, come on, let me say this before I even get into that. I do not have problems with reporters. Well, yeah, I do. I don't have problems with journalists. Let's make that clear. I do not have a problem with journalists, but I do have a problem with aggressive, immature reporters. And I call that particular reporter immature because not once did they refrain from letting loose that story without talking to the horse first. I'm such a get it from the horse's mouth type of person, and I know how to suspend my judgment until I have a better view of the story. So, all of that to say that I think is just wonderful that she is finally going to step into that art to tell her own story without any shame. And I'll say it again. Jill Scott said, "You are not going to make me shame. You're not going to shame me for me being me. You're just not going to do it." Shout out to Jill Scott and Blue Bays Foundation up there in Philly doing their thing with the kids and carrying on. Beautiful thing. It's absolutely beautiful thing. Okay, so my note to self that chimed in early this morning, and it's rather lengthy, but we're going to go on through this. I always won't be wanting to say amen, but I mean, ashe. Yes. So I'm just going to read it how I wrote it. It's raw and uncut. Might be all sorts of grammatical errors, but it's all right. We journaling today. That's what it's about. Yeah. We facing off with this thing called courage. And so here we go. I am enough. I am worthy of that which travels into my innermost wishes of wellness, my romantic intelligence, my unique intuition, my parental redemption, and my professional adventures. The mysteries of me shall unlock and open, says me. Maturity and self-mastery is upon me. Interpersonal love language is also upon me. Beyond the compliments of the cosmos, a golden fleece of bliss awaits me. The quietude to ponder if this element of future is truly mine. I wonder. Or is it just wonderful in thought and something totally different if attempted, and something totally different if I attempt to manifest it into this reality? But even with this all so scary idea, I am going to reach for it. I am going to try my hand. If it's meant to bring me bliss, so mote it be. If it's meant to bring me challenges and correction, that's cool too. Because surely, I'm kidding myself if I ever figure, because surely I'm kidding myself to ever figure I'd ever be in flesh without flaw. The story that tells of beauty's true love, breaking the curse of the beast, is often a comedic undertone when I tell folks that I am actually the beast. And the only love that's true enough to transcend my physical shall be wondrous enough to unlock the gravitational pull of embedded fears, frustrations, and misfortunes. I am beyond working to be wishing, loving just to be waiting, teaching just to be talking, and busy just to be buying. That's not what I came here for. No more feats of square pegs in round holes. The meeting, greeting, mixing, hold on. The meeting, greeting, mixing, and mingling will be to beautifully blend my personal and my professional, because a deconditioned, departmental erasing is necessary. The combination of the true me is the emergence of wholeness. To say no just because I'm afraid of the outcome, mainly judged by past experiences, or the need to control all aspects of the encounter is now the robber of my emotional banking, which shall be arrested from all of my developments. I will continue to trust my intuitive reach and extend the invitations to join, explore, research, and develop by heart. I stretch forward to create self, my story study summits, and my coaching concords. Plus, serve as a sponsor of my Godlean's better understanding of emotional reconciliations through the reconciling of my own interpersonal parabolic orbiting and trajectories. Intellectual trust plus emotional bonds equals divine balance. Yeah, that's my note to self. And it just like flowed out of me from just a multitude of things that are still dancing inside my head that not only is a bit weighty and kind of draining at the moment, but also very, very wonderful and intriguing and remarkable. And so yeah, it has a balance. It has this tightrope type of frequency to it where um, I'm really afraid of certain things that I can't control. Like, I tell my best friend all the time, I'm a freaking Capricorn sun. Like, I don't like unpredictability. I don't like it when I'm not able to forecast certain things. But the ushering in of my unique divine feminine energy is requiring me to see differently. It's requiring me to love differently. It's requiring me to express differently. So with that said, we truly are going to get into my hood interpretation of the never ending story, as it is to equate to us finding that thing that is known as the numinous, known as the anima mundi, ANIMAMUNDI, which is the collective soul, meaning that everything within living existence is tapped into. And I don't want to just say like one source, but I'm going to say also tapped into a dynamic that is also linked and connected to other sources of dynamic. Interestingly enough, regardless of what we call this celestial source that's responsible for us being here in human form, at some point it's all connected to something else. And in my humble opinion, it's divine clusters of connectivity versus just one big nucleus, one big cluster. I think that there are clusters of clusters that are co-joined in the mix of other clusters. And so I like to think of that as the numinous, that divine responsibility for human involvement inside the third dimension. In our journey to know oneself and engage the art of telling one's own story, putting the power back into one's own pen, one's own narrative. That made me think of something. Because what I want to do real quick, before I jump into my interpretations is talk to you about Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, like the archetype for the hero's journey. I make it Shiro's journey just because I do know of some living examples of Shiros either in my day or in my yesterday. And I know because I'm on a hunt for them, I will have the privilege of being acquainted with Shiros that I have yet to meet. And I know, we playing with words here because a hero is a hero is a hero, right? But there are Shiros. They out there. And as quiet as it's kept, like they are being infused with an energy and a call of duty to come forth and love on some folks. Like they are the emotional warriors that don't necessarily have to physically fight. They actually win wars with love, and they are the big mamas that can usher in therapy and usher in healing just by fixing you a plate of dinner. Like it's that kind of warrior that that is now piquing my interest. And so with that said, there is a journey outline that I have created. It's for the sheroes and the heroes now, okay? Let's understand this because the journey, the soul's journey to oneself is rather helpful when there is a map or some type of trajectory of one's orbit available. Yes. And so I'm going to just real quickly talk about the regular traditional steps of Joseph Campbell's outline. And I'm going to also take this moment to offer up my version of it, which is available with the complimentary set of the 2009, the CMHU's 2009 Dynamo Edifice. And the pair can be purchased for $22 via Cash App. But here's the deal. You must reserve it first. You must get in contact with us to pre-order it. Then once you get confirmation of the pre-order, then we send you information to Cash App, and then you get the PDF version of the CMHU's Shiro's Journey trial, and the trail, not the trial. It's not a trial. It's the actual content, the trail of the intellectual and emotional journey, right? And so on the blog is my own outline of me doing this activity myself. So my personal information from my own analytics of my Shiro's journey, which spanned it from 2009 until the beginning of this year, 2019, which is 10 years. And that's why I often tell folks that my scholarship of self, I've logged in my 10,000 hours. I have. And so I am the Harriet Tubman of the CoachMaddHattery with regards to self scholarship and standing in one's own truth to tell one's own story. So, number one, step one, as Joseph Campbell has it. So, step one is the one's original realm. So, like life, the original. I'm sorry, the ordinary realm. So, the ordinary life before the individual receives the initiation to take the leap into a particular adventure. That's considered that's home base. That's step one. And so then step two is when they actually get the call. And the call can be a hunch through intuition. It could be a highlight of a conversation that you have with someone who you know is emotionally invested in your well-being. The call can even come from one that we may view as a hater. If we really want to get real with this, catalytic combustion, the residue from a heated disagreement. Like the call can come in various shapes, forms, and fashions. And it's interesting because I know that I am embarking upon my second journey. And I'm getting the feeling that this particular call is going to be a bit different than the call that I received in 2009. I still think it's going to be a bit turbulent because I'm still facing off with some fears of my own. And I think within this particular transition is going to come for something that doesn't feel all that good, but at the end of the day is going to be the catalytic component to how I branch off or launch into my next Shiro's journey. So, number three is refusing the call. Now, I'm not sure if this go round I'm actually going to take much time refusing it, but when it came to me in 2009, I'm going to tell you something. It was in the midst of an emotional breakdown. Like, everything fell apart. Everything. I went from 2 jobs to none, um, co-parenting to not parenting at all, having a vehicle, no longer having one. When I say all of it blew up in smoke and went to smithereens, yeah, it did. Yeah, it did. And it wasn't even like anything particular. It just was a weight of energy that I had never experienced before that took me plummeting into the depths of what I like to call hell. And I know if I haven't mentioned it before, I'm almost sure I have, but I will say often I've been to hell several times and got plenty t-shirts. Got plenty t-shirts. Because hell is a state of mind. And it has no religiosity tendencies to it at all. If you really truly want to like simplify it down to its quintessentials. Hell and heaven is a state of mind. And it's that place that folks want to call negative, right? It is the place where Saturn dwells. It's the place where you have to view all of that which you feel you missed the mark on, or you just not up on your shit, I would suppose. Um, it is the very critical areas uh, where you feel really tender and not so nice. Um, you are your worst critic. Yes. When you a Capricorn sun, yeah, times that like 5. You know what? I will even say Capricorn sun, moon, and rising, and Venus. Yes, honey. So, when I got the notion, like, you will be, and this is before I understood my Saturn and Gemini, okay? So the thought in all of my just agony, like, suffered with depression to the point where I was spending days in the bed, in the dark, under the covers, no communication with no one. Sister got really worried. All my family members really was like, okay, she about to off herself like really soon. We can feel it. Mainly because I contemplated with that a lot in my earlier, in my younger adult life, to the point where I was on antidepressants. But when this journey began, I had already taken up the cause that I wasn't doing any more antidepressants, and yeah, because it was messing with my motor skills, and my nervous system was all batty, and so I had taken myself off of them and had decided that I was just going to deal with it, or I was going to piece the fuck up out of here. It was like I'm no longer going to be scared of death. And since shit all wacky anyway, then I'm just, yeah, I'm going yeah, I'm about this joint. If it get to, yeah, I'm peacing out. So I think all of that was part of it though. So when the quiet little notion came in my head and it said, you are going to sharpen your skills with how you express yourself. You are going to write fluently with regards to how you express yourself. You are going to stand before many, and you want to tell this story about how you are considered a deadbeat. And not just a deadbeat mom, I'm talking about a deadbeat friend, a deadbeat sister. Yeah, just a deadbeat everything. Everything. You hear me? Everything. 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 And I refused it. I refused it for a while, and I just continued to like just be depressed about me not living up to my social standing. Um, I dropped all my clients from the salon. Like, it was a real interesting moment in time for me. That wrinkle in time, yeah, that shit real. It's real. It's real for me. So, step number 4, true to form, you're going to meet up with some mentors. And this is not mentors in the more traditional professional sense. Now, my mentors came in the form of my big sister Reese, my best friend family, my children, especially my two older ones, a few clients here and there, but none of them would look at themselves as being my dad, my stepmom. They don't look at themselves as being mentors, but they were my mentors. My mom, my biological mom. They they kick some knowledge. And not in the I'm gonna tell you about yourself. Nope. And they didn't hold my hand either. They were actually serving as mentors and didn't even realize that they were. It was just things within conversations that just perked up to my soul. My brother Moochie, yeah, that just perked up. My brother Vaughn, yeah, that just, even in the midst of them trying to figure their shit out, certain things was just being highlighted to me that spoke to me intimately. And I took notes. And slowly but surely, I stepped into step number 5, which is crossing the threshold. And then I went into that place called the innermost cave. That's hell. For me it was. That's hell. So that was yet another trip. Right on into that bitch. And I'll say it and say it again. We get spooked out by this whole devil thing, when it really is our shadow self. It's our self. It's it's ourself being mirrored and put up on the table for contemplation. And the more scarier it is, represents the more we want to ignore it. When you think about the film Us, Jordan Peele did his thing with it. And I'll say it and say it again. I've never seen the movie, but I so understand it. I so understand it. It's what folks that refuse to be connected to the essence of their own evilness, if it could be called that. But it only shows up horrific when it's been ignored. Like those that speak in their truth within true reconciliation and redemption knows that that part of themselves need love too, and it needs understanding, and it needs a better understanding of how it was able to manifest in the first place. So inside that innermost cave is where I truly found myself, and I was able to find it over there tattered, all beat the fuck up over in the corner, all huddled up. And it was like, give me your hand, and let's talk about some things, which shoved me into step number 8, which is considered the ordeal. And did we tussle? You damn right we tussled. We tussled, all right? We tussled. But at the end of the day, because neither one of us was going to leave the room early, we sat there and we dealt with that shit. And so that allowed us to be able to step into step number 9, which is reward, seizing the moment, and the sword. And I like to look at the sword as the sharpening and the courage of taking the accountability to establish one's own individual, unique love language, and then telling that story. Only how they can tell their story. During that process, we find out how to uniquely arrange the communication by which will give folks on the outer fringes a better understanding of you and why you are you. Yes? So then step number 10 is the road back. Because once you leave hell and you get your reward and you seize the moment and you sharpen that sword and you got something to talk about, you have something to share, it's time to go back. Time to full circle that joint. Time to go back. And so inside the traditional trajectory of Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, it even says the road back is not smooth sailing, because then you are challenged to contemplate all that you've gathered. And then you have to reconcile. You have to reconcile to the point where a portion of the old you cannot return because the newness has ushered in. And so step 11 is to resurrect. And only the reconcile part, only the resurrected part is on the return. But then step number 12 is that you get to return with life's elixir, which I have deemed the full circle of what I like to call astro alchemy. It's when we walk the black to gold mile. This entire journey, like the film The Green Mile. And even though we are within this journey dying to our old self, it's not like we are pacing ourselves for like a true execution. But forms of our old self will die in this journey. So walking the black to golden mile is all intrapersonal, all based on ingenuity, intrinsic nuances and infusions. That whole self-actualization, like the pyramid that Maslow has. But this is more full circle. This is more cyclical. Is that a word? Secular circle. Yeah, the circle. The unicursal, the labyrinth, the soul's journey. Yeah, the seasons, and around and around. Each time you go around, you come with a different flavor, if you will, of elixir, of how you were able to transmute those lead heavy based circumstances into golden enlightenment so that you may bring forth the sharing of your wisdom. And so I included step 13 to reflect just that, because the traditional journey stops at step 12. So I have a thing for the number 13, and maybe I'll do a separate segment on numerology with regards to those numbers that reflect the relationship with self, the soul's journey, just in those. I mean, really all of them, but definitely from 1 to 13 means something significant to those that are traveling this thing called Know Thyself. So step 13 is the bonus, which is extends special invitations to share, create, and heal history, aka our story. I will leave in the keynotes a link to a small clip, and I always do this, like the instances be popping up in my head as I'm talking to you, and I have to go and double check like authors and shit like that. But it's a professor. Um, oh my God, and she a fierce one too. And I think I'm almost tempted to give access to the comments for this particular one, because I know if you tap into this professor given her insight about the Haitian Revolution and how she talks about all the key players like Bookman and Toussaint and all of the women warriors that stepped up and gave forwarding accountability to like, yeah, taking their homeland back. Mufasa. Yeah, it's one of them moments. So I'll make sure that as a matter of fact, I'm going to make sure that I put that in there, because that truly is a treat. She breaks it down with regards to the language of erasing it from being history and making it our story, which is our story, which means it's a collective embodiment from narrative to narratives, stitched like a quilt, like narratives stitched like quilts, so that we can begin to have a reconciling of story, that it won't just be the victors that's telling the stories. Yes. So I'm gonna drop that in there so you can get some enlightenment. Yes. So check this out. We're at 52 minutes. Okay, so guess what? This is part 3A. I promise I am getting ready to do, we're going to get into the never ending story. Why is it happening like that? And it's interesting because when I got up this morning, it was like, you may be doing a part 4. Like, this is a series. This is a comfy sofa series. So, with that being said, but I'm glad we got into this though. Like, seriously, I'm glad I was able to outline that and give some understanding about the actual journey, and make the announcement that the Dynamo edifice is ready. $22 comes with, it's a complimentary pack. It's worth way more than that, but for initiation purposes, we are going to keep it there for a while, mainly because I want to give folks a true understanding of what the Coach Mad Hatter's Underland University and Radio content and context is all about. It gives the opportunity to try it out, kick the tires a little bit, and see what's popping. Yes. So the information to pre-order will also be in the keynotes. With that said, I'm going to see who that is ringing my phone. And then we are going to get to the never-ending story. So hang tight.